Okay.
I'll have you know, for the purposes of this podcast, I am creating a Google Chrome desktop shortcut straight to Wikipedia.
Oh, I have the worst notes for this podcast. It's just like I have an entire folder with like all of the movies, and it's just like the rotations notes, notes repeated, X's over things that we talked about. It's the most unorganized shit.
I have absolutely no movie. This movie specifically just makes me sad.
To everyone's utter surprise, I have absolutely no notes.
Oh God. Okay. All right, let's count down. Flippity flappity, here comes the jamity. Hello and welcome to Star Wars Every Week Forever, the podcast in which we watch one Star Wars movie every week forever. This week, we're closing in on the end.
You gotta start clearing these intros.
Well, now that intro's got to get in the podcast because I can't explain around that one. We're watching The Last Jedi. Happy Christmas, everybody.
Oh God, is that this week?
Yeah, it's this week. Yeah, it's happy holidays, everybody. That seems so very far away from November 14th. Ben, how was your watch?
It was good. Just finished.
Chris, how was your watch?
It was fine.
My watch was also fine. It was longer than last week, which means it's not as good as The Force Awakens, and The Force Awakens is the best movie in the Star Wars franchise. But it was good.
I can't wait for the day that you grow to regret this bit.
Did you just say that Force Awakens is the best movie in the franchise?
Chris, you were here when we recorded the last podcast.
I understand that, but like...
Chris didn't expect the bit to last this long.
Yeah,
No, I didn't expect the bit to last this long either, and I don't mean it, and I don't want to break the bit, but I am purely judging.
You've already said it in 2 separate episodes, therefore you mean it.
I am purely judging the worth of the content by how many fucking days I had to watch special features on them. That is what I am judging, the worth of the content.
Way to do that.
Well, I can worry about that next rotation. This rotation, I'm being a petty bitch.
I'm gonna watch the next rotation just entirely in Spanish.
Oh,
so gosh. Josh, how was your watch?
It was fine. It's
all right, folks. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next week. All 3 of us. That was fine. That was all right.
God, this movie has some of the best stuff in all of fucking Star Wars, but it is so fucking painfully long. It is so fucking long.
What is this? Some of the best stuff in Star Wars you speak of?
All the Luke and Rey stuff. I seriously think it's the best. Some of the best stuff in the saga.
Yeah, I can see it.
But the movie is so fucking long.
But it's also got Holdo.
Okay, actually, I did want to bring this up. We might have been just a teensy bit too hard on Holdo last time.
No. I have, if anything, since that time, I've lost respect for Holdo.
Let me explain why, and then we can go from there. I still think it's deeply thematically inappropriate and irresponsible that Poe's story revolves around essentially following the orders without question. But upon watching it this time, I realized that Poe kind of fucked up really horribly. If it was not for the fact that he had decided to take down that dreadnought, they would have had bombers, which meant they would have had options rather than just running without anything.
Except they would have had bombers against a fleet that was much bigger with a much larger capital ship that could have dispatched the bombers much more easily.
Yeah, but that was true when they were leaving the Alliance base.
No, I mean comparatively to when they were
Yeah.
leaving the Alliance base.
Yeah, but that's also true of the Death Star. What I'm saying is that they had literally no
Yes, but
large
the Death Star
artillery.
in the battles for the Death Stars, they had Y-wings. They didn't have Star Fortresses.
They also had far more forces at that point.
I
Yeah.
will say though, a lot of people
Yeah, but I'm
complain
talking
about the
about-
Star Fortresses. Those
Yeah, they're
ships
pretty
are
cool.
terrifying.
Yeah, they're pretty fucking cool.
I mean, they're made of like fucking paper mache, but they hold the payload of about, I forget what it is, but it's like 10 times the payload of a Y-wing.
Yeah, there's a reason why they're so fucking slow. I will say, I thought about this during this watch. Compared to the movies that bookend it, this movie is more willing to take chances on making new designs of things, whereas both The Force Awakens and The Rise of Skywalker 100% just want to recreate things that already existed, and I appreciate that. I'm not saying that this movie doesn't do that as well, but
The issue I have with Holdo specifically.
there's a lot of it.
So she's given this big moment, which I hate, but also is one of the best shot scenes in the film. Like the fade to silence, and it's
So good.
it's
Yeah.
great. It is a great scene that holds zero emotional resonance because you don't give a fuck about this character that they've introduced. Same movie.
Yeah, and I do think I was hit this watch with they would have had options other than just run if they had bombers. And Poe did fuck up in that way. That does not change the fact that all Holdo had to do, at least to the people that worked directly with her, is explain her fucking plan. Because she didn't explain it to anyone. Not just Poe, who rightfully so, Poe probably shouldn't have been explained to because he did fuck up, even though he learned his lesson. She explained it to nobody.
Even if she didn't explain her plan, all that she needed to say was, hey, we just got trekked through hyperspace. We quite possibly have a spy on board. That's all she needed to say.
That's true too.
If she was given just that line of dialogue, I would have much less things to complain about.
The truth of this movie is that Ryan was very interested in making a Star Wars movie, but all the stuff around the Star Wars that he wanted to create, he did not think a lot on. And the stuff that he wanted to make, he was very excited to make, is some of my favorite stuff in the entire saga. But everything else kind of falls the fuck apart. And that's why this movie feels so fucking long, because one, it's the longest Star Wars movie in the entire saga by 10 minutes. And two, you're kind of just waiting to get to the stuff that's good.
Yeah, that's the thing. I mean, there's that's one of the things that we've come down the hardest on this movie for, and I think we got a little bit of pushback as well of we blame Rian Johnson and JJ a little bit too much, which is fair because at the end of the day it's Disney who's behind everything technically, but also Rian Johnson's plan and style of movie he was going for here doesn't work when you aren't the one doing the rest of the trilogy. You can't make these bold decisions like, well, Rey's parentage is it doesn't matter. She's nobody, and anybody can be a hero and this and that. Like, that's fine if you're doing the whole trilogy and you can continue making bold decisions. But when you're not the one doing that, it's easy enough to do what ended up happening, where it's nope, not at all. It's going back on it immediately.
The thing that I took away from these special features the most, yeah, we got some pushback that said that we blame the directors a little too much. And I think that's correct in a lot of ways, especially watching how this fucking production happened. So, I don't know what the Rise of Skywalker special features are like. I'll find that out next week, and then I'll be blissfully put out of my misery. This was the only honest documentary that I felt like I experienced since the original 6. There's obviously lies that are told there and bullshit, and George can't tell the truth, but all of those special features had an interest in not selling you propaganda. It at least wanted to show you the behind the scenes stuff, whether it be good or bad or indifferent, to a certain extent. That's not true in the Force Awakens special features. It is true here. At least in the Director and the Jedi special feature. This production was a fucking mess. I was going to mention in the sequel trilogy, no matter what, that these movies had, with the exception of The Force Awakens, these movies had like half the time to make a Star Wars movie that all the other Star Wars movies ever made had. And that's still true. But I am absolutely boggled by this process, and maybe I'm missing something, but I don't think I am. This filming process took 4 months and was not based on the availability of the actors in one go. It was based off of the availability of the sets being built and actors going on to do other projects. They were already filming when The Force Awakens released, as far as I can tell. I could be wrong on that. It could be that they were just ending pre-production when The Force Awakens released. But it kind of seems like Ryan had been shown an early version of the movie and kept checking in on it, or the movie was done earlier than the other two combined. Because there's a scene where Ryan goes, now that I've seen The Force Awakens, and he's sitting on the fucking set on his birthday. And I'm like, now that I've seen Disney, what the fuck are you doing? Why are you this deep? Anyway, it's also worth mentioning that Ryan and his producer, which he brought his own producer on, he brought a couple of people that he's always done movies on with, which, that's fair. Everyone else that worked on this movie had worked on productions of that size. Ryan and his producer, Ram, I don't have the last name written here, unfortunately. They had both never worked on a production of this size. And it shows in the process. The impression that you're given in the documentary is that they would have a filming day, and then they would have a couple of filming days, or they would film off of location, and they would come home and that night start working on editing it together, rather than having a dedicated post-production sequence. I'm sure there was a dedicated post-production sequence, but they were so pressed for time that they were doing post-production while they were doing production. 2 years is not enough time to make these fucking movies, is the bottom line of this entire fucking special features bit. And we were probably right to have it pointed out to us that Disney was to blame for a lot of this, because not only is Disney responsible for all the marketing, but this fucking crunch schedule is the most ridiculous thing I've ever seen in my life.
It for sure is, and I mean, I don't think it was, because I mean, we also blame Disney. It's not like we acted like Disney were totally in the right with the way they handled things. There was never a time where
loses our sponsorship.
Yeah, well, look, Disney Plus,
fuck the mouse.
Fantastic platform. Fuck the mouse. Yeah, at a certain point, you can't blame Disney for everything, though. There are some things that you cannot blame Disney for.
You can absolutely blame Ryan for the fact that he obviously had more of an interest in making certain things in this movie than other things. Yeah. There's very clear favoritism in the storytelling that he had.
Well, that's the thing.
It's the Jedi part of the story.
Yeah, and I think the biggest criticism we had of Rian Johnson, I'm a big fucking fan of Rian Johnson.
I am too.
I love his other work. Knives Out was fantastic. Looper is great.
Yeah.
I'm a big fan of Ryan Johnson, like truly. But honestly, the stuff in this movie that bothers me the most is I don't think Disney's fault. Like the shit with Finn, I don't think is Disney's fault. Yeah, the marketing, obviously, the way they marketed The Force Awakens in foreign markets, obviously. But clearly there were, I say clearly because it's so fucking overt, but what the fuck do I know? But it appeared as though there were bigger plans for Finn's character. And we get to this movie and he's sent off on a side mission that could be removed from the movie and wouldn't change anything.
If I was shown The Force Awakens without the marketing that it had, I would have never thought that Finn was Force sensitive. But the marketing sold it as such.
Well, because I don't think at that point, I feel like at that point they didn't know if Finn was going to be Force sensitive or not.
Yeah, but
yeah,
I mean,
but
even
the marketing for the movie did not present Rey first. The marketing of the movie had
it's every
Finn
poster had Finn with a lightsaber.
Yeah,
with
Anakin's
lightsaber.
Yeah, which is false advertising.
Well, it's not even that, because I mean, even if you hadn't seen any of the marketing, just the sheer fact that Finn holds his own in the movie, not holds his own entirely, but doesn't fucking die while fighting Ben with a lightsaber, should have, given the impression, I assume, to someone who saw none of the marketing that, oh, this character will probably be, at least important. Maybe not Force sensitive, but at least very important. And then, we get to Last Jedi and it's, well, Rey's going to go train with Luke.
And everybody else is going to do some bullshit.
Poe is going to be kind of an asshole and get scolded the whole movie. And Finn's going to go hang out on a casino planet. Yeah, like it's... Look, I'll blame fucking Disney all day long. I mean, Disney's getting real consistent at fucking things up that I enjoy. This new Mulan movie is a good example. Disney Plus, great platform. Yeah, I don't know. I'll be the first person to blame Disney, but also like you can't take all of the blame away from the directors just because
you're right.
Disney's in the background. There were some very clear decisions made by Rian Johnson that I think harmed this trilogy. And that's not to say that JJ didn't also, That's, again, you can blame Disney partially for that as well, but that doesn't alleviate the blame from the directors.
And to be very careful with how I want to word this.
It's all right. We'll throw in a few allegedlys. We'll be fine.
Yeah, blanket allegedly.
I think the cult of personality around this movie is built up to such a point where people either love it or hate it. And I think that's fair, because I certainly loved it and am still wrestling with this fucking movie because there's shit I love so much and there's shit I hate so much. But because the stuff is so polar opposite in this movie and people react to it in such strong ways, I think both sides of the conversation that are, this is the worst movie ever made in Star Wars and this is the best Star Wars movie ever made, has blinded people to either its faults or its strengths.
Oh, definitely.
Which is, and it's, it's not to say, look, if you enjoy this movie, more power to you. I don't care. That's fine. This is not me complaining and saying you're not allowed to like this movie. I personally think this movie is very lucky that Rise of Skywalker sucked shit so badly. Because I don't think this movie would be viewed as favorably if it didn't. It's just so disconnected from Force Awakens, and then Rise of Skywalker is so disconnected from Last Jedi and Force Awakens.
Yeah.
that Last Jedi stands out as an outlier, as well, it was moving the franchise in a brave new direction while, never asking the question of like, well, should it have, considering it's the middle movie?
And that's what it always comes back to me. And to be honest, I don't know. I think it should have. I really do. I would have been. I don't know. I'm so fucking bored with this idea of just great families bringing down the Force. Actually, I do want to quote Ryan real quick because there's a Ryan quote he makes in a documentary where he talks about his interpretation of the Force and how he kind of wanted to do a reset. He wanted to do a reset lesson, in his words, especially for kids, about what the Force is. He wanted to make it less of a superpower. He wanted to make it more of a something intangible, which I think he did for the most part, except that fucking Leia scene. But there's a quote that he says that kind of reflects my entire view of why I would still want Rey to not have Luke as a fucking father, or especially fucking Palpatine or Han or whatever.
Yeah.
In the first trilogy, the hardest thing that Luke could be told in that moment was that Vader was his father. It turns everything on its head for Luke. It takes away all the easy answers, and it makes him face the hardest thing, which is that I no longer have a bad guy I can hate. Suddenly, that thing that I thought was the bad guy is a part of me. For Rey, I think it's the exact opposite. If she were told that she's related to this person, or Luke is her this, or whatever, it would be the easiest thing she could hear. That's everything she wants. That would instantly define what her place is in the universe. So to me, the equivalent of I am your father is, nope, you got to stand on your own 2 feet. There are not going to be easy answers here for you. You're wondering who you are? Okay, well, you have to find out for yourself who you are. Which I think is just the better fucking story here.
Yeah. And that's, I mean, to be clear, I come down real hard on Rian Johnson because of what he did to Finn.
Yeah.
And whether it doesn't come off great, and again, it's not, I don't have to put an allegedly, because I'm not trying to call Rian Johnson out for anything specific. It's just, it reaches a point where it's not a good look where the character that you decide to sideline is the lead person of color.
Allegedly sideline.
Allegedly sideline. That's the big thing. I mean, you hear John Boyega in interviews and stuff, and again, none of us know what happened.
Well, and I think we all know where the three of us all side on the ideas he's expressed.
Chris is absolutely right.
That's the thing. I mean, that is my issue with Rian Johnson. The stuff with Rey, I really like. That was the thing I came out of this movie really enjoying. I don't have a problem with that. I have a problem, and again, I want to be very clear because, like I said, we were called out for putting too much blame on the directors. That is if I have a problem with Rian Johnson, that's the solitary problem. The rest of it's fine. All of the other stuff I'm mad about, I would have to blame on JJ for looking at this movie and then doing what he did with Rise of Skywalker. If I'm going to be mad at Rian Johnson for anything, it's allegedly minimalizing the character of Finn.
And it's not like even JJ's clear in that aspect, because
no.
Come Rise of Skywalker, we get like 5 whole fucking seconds with Rose.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
Which, like, I'm not the biggest fan of Rose, but, like, she's not a bad character.
I don't know if we'll talk more about this in Rise of Skywalker or not, but Rise of Skywalker certainly feels like the movie that has the most, all right, here's Disney Media Corporation, we're going to have some say in this script.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm glad I'm not the only one, but...
Yeah, I mean, that's, I don't know. Like, if they had given this entire fucking trilogy to Rian Johnson, I think we would have gotten something really special, something really interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Rian Johnson, I don't think his vision for Star Wars, I don't think it was something that you could
Do in
throw
one movie?
into. Yeah, one movie, and also the middle movie of the trilogy. You
See,
know?
that's the thing that sucks to me, is that it could have been the middle movie. I think if you were going to have 3 different directors, he was perfect for the middle movie. Because he doesn't write good upbeat endings. He writes really good changes.
Yeah.
And if somebody other than fucking J.J. Abrams did the final movie, they could have took it and run. But J.J. doesn't know how to fucking evolve characters.
Well, that was the biggest. I think, we didn't really, we didn't have this podcast going, and we didn't have we hadn't assembled this weird hive mind we have about Star Wars now between the 3 of us to talk about it. But like,
welcome
I
to the collective, friends.
Yeah,
we are the Borg.
I know I said to my dad when they announced, Trevorrow was out and JJ was going to be doing Rise of Skywalker, I was like, uh-oh.
Yeah.
That reads as, well, this got off the tracks and we have to reel this in. And I was like, oh, fuck, they're going to, yeah. Like, you could see from a mile away what was happening. It was...
Ayo, company guy, come on in, fix this.
Exactly. It was like Rian Johnson went off script too much, and so we have to reel it back in. Allegedly.
Carrie Fisher slapped Oscar Isaac in the face 24 times. They did 24 takes.
This is my new favorite thing. This comes... So, second place is Luke whacking his head off of Yoda's hut 16 times.
Ryan walked up to Carrie afterwards and said, "Are you all right?" And she didn't quite answer, but she kind of held her wrist, and he patted her on the back as they walked away and said, "You should see the other guy."
My God.
Can we talk about something not so fucking heavy?
Well,
it feels like every time we get to this.
That's why I've been a little quiet, because I'm just like, when can I talk about the universe?
I'm so mad. I didn't come into this episode wanting to get heavy. Like, we got way too close to fucking being a serious podcast in the last rotation of the fucking sequel trilogy, and I just want to go back to making like downtime Darth and Dick joke. It's like, what?
I feel like we're a very good podcast if we very occasionally talk about serious stuff, but the rest of it is dick and fart jokes.
I feel like the problem with this, and I mean, again, our very small but moderately dedicated audience, we appreciate your listening. You're gonna have to bear with us for probably another rotation or 2 with the sequel trilogy before we can get completely silly with it, because
the hive mind makes a collective decision.
Yeah, I don't think we've fully adjusted to the sequel trilogy.
Yeah.
So you got to give us a bit of time.
I don't think we're gonna be ready to talk about the Rise of Skywalker like in a silly way for a really long time, to be honest. It's been out a few years. The Force Awakens has been out long enough that we can just be idiots in The Force Awakens. The Rise of Skywalker is a very recent wound.
Force Awakens to me is such a... I mean, regardless of whether or not you like it, I personally think it's the best of the trilogy, Joss. Not the whole series. I think it's the best.
It has the least special features.
I don't even know if I have a favorite of this trilogy, to be honest, because
I've been
bits and pieces from several of them.
I have
more
so much
the first 2.
I've been having a real debate with myself if it's still The Last Jedi or if it's The Force Awakens.
I think the thing for me with this is the more I watch it, the more like, because again, like you're 100% right, Josh. There is the stuff this movie does well. It does so fucking well.
Yeah.
And there's stuff I enjoy immensely in this movie. The fucking porgs make me laugh every goddamn time. It's so
yeah, they're really
good so much.
They're adorable. I love the porgs.
It's so stupid, but like
they're
the
natural
horror.
evolution of Ewoks.
No.
Look,
yes.
The abject horror on that porg's face when he fucking is watching Chewbacca roasting a porg.
I found the worst fucking joke in the entire sequel trilogy, and thankfully it didn't make it into the movie.
Oh my god.
I'm very surprised that it was this movie.
Well, I mean, this is the movie where someone put on hold, so, I mean...
I know.
There was actually a different opening originally, and it's not even better. It opens with Finn waking up, and all the jokes in regards to that, and it was not better. I don't know if it was worse, but it was not better. There's an extended scene of Finn and Rose and what's his guts?
The hacker.
The guy the other guy that probably should have been in Rise of Skywalker and wasn't. The hacker guy.
Is it BJ?
DJ?
DJ.
BJ.
It's something
BJ.
with a J.
It might as well be BJ.
DJ. I'll get there eventually.
Who was that character in the mainline Star Wars movie?
You know. I don't know what joke I was going to say there. I was trying really hard to find it.
It was DJ.
There's an extended sequence, and it seems like there are a lot of like late reshoots in regards to the entire Finn, Rose, and DJ segments on the ship. There's an extended sequence of them getting in and slowly being noticed. It has a couple of really bad jokes. The first is that BB-8 has like a box on top of him that's supposed to make him look like a mouse droid, but it just kind of fucking moves all over the place, very obviously having something inside of it. It's really bad. There's an elevator isn't arriving on time in a tense situation joke while they're inside of the elevator in a turbo lift in Star Wars. Like, they're inside of the fucking elevator, and they're doing the thing where they're pressing the button over and over again, waiting to go. Like, they're inside the fucking elevator. They're not waiting on the elevator. They're inside of it. It pissed me off. And then further in that scene has the worst joke I've ever seen in Star Wars, which is Finn, Rose, and DJ are slowly going up. They just escaped one of the head officers noticing that they weren't supposed to be there on the lower area because of the elevator shtick. And the elevator stops, and about 8 stormtroopers step into the elevator, and then it continues. And there's one stormtrooper behind Finn. And that stormtrooper is looking really hard at Finn. And, like, just slowly starts to move up and look Finn over and over again, like, very clearly knowing who Finn was. After this really long, tense pause, he goes, FN2187. And Finn just kind of turns around and says, "Don't do this." And he kind of says that they were in the same basic group that got brought up. And there's this long, tense moment, and Finn says, "Don't do this." And then he says, "Sorry, sir, I know I'm supposed to not talk to officers in this way, but, you know," and he just gets all excited because someone who was in his stormtrooper group got made into an officer. And at the end of him going, like, basically, "Oorah, good for you," he smacks his ass.
You know, I was on board with the joke until that.
Like, while he's, like, pumping it up, saying, "Great job, this is our group, we did so well," he smacks him in the ass, and it's like, all that build-up for that?
Yeah, like I said, I was on board with that as a joke until that. Oh, man.
So fucking bad. Like,
why is it at the point where the stuff that was removed from the movie makes it painful to still watch the movie, even though I know that stuff's not there?
Well, that's true of a lot of Star Wars stuff.
That's fair.
I can't stop thinking about fucking, I forget her name, but Shakti getting killed twice in the Revenge of the Sith deleted scenes. I can't stop thinking about it now.
Speaking of things that I've suddenly started to hate this movie for, do you guys know why DJ has those initials?
Oh no.
It's short for "Don't Join."
No, that's not so bad, I
guess. It's so dumb.
That's pretty bad, Josh. That's
Well, I assume it's not his
Pretty
real name. I assume he
fucking
just
bad.
I assume he
No,
just
I don't
needed a
think
fake
his
name.
parents named him Don't. With the surname Join.
I mean, it's
You
Star
know,
Wars.
of the
Anything can
Join
happen.
clan.
Holy shit.
To be fair, if you pushed me into a corner and I had to come up with a fake name, it would probably be that bad. I don't think that guy comes off as a genius. That guy is supposed to come off like a genius. He comes off like a goof, and that sounds like something a goof would do.
A genius?
He's supposed to come off as one. He's supposed to come off as this person that kind of like pokes Finn and says, "Why are you so hyper obsessed with working with the Alliance? You've seen both sides. Don't join." He's supposed to come off like that. He doesn't. He comes off as a goof, and that sounds like it's something a goof would do.
This is information you guys have cursed me with, I'll have you know.
I have like
I was in blissful ignorance until today.
I was watching this movie earlier today, and I think I would have really enjoyed if they gave Rian Johnson an entire trilogy, and
Yeah.
they let him run with it, and they let him, like, if he did a his spin on the Vuz and Vong.
Yeah, that'd be pretty cool.
I think
I know-
Rian Johnson at the head of that would be fucking incredible.
I know there were like unsubstantiated rumors that he was really interested in doing something in like the Old Republic.
Yeah, I don't.
I don't trust it.
The problem with that, like, there was.
Can we call Ben out real quick? I'd like to call Ben out real quick.
No. Stop right now, Josh.
So Ben
So
loves
apparently
the Old Republic.
DJ was stuck on Canto Bight.
You want to finish that sentence? Because I'm going to do this
did I
no matter
succeed?
what, Ben.
Did I succeed?
I'm going to do this no matter what, Ben. So,
Mark Hamill actually was
Ben-
the mocap
Ben
for
adores...
the one alien who comes over and like tries to use BB-8 as a slot machine.
Ben.
Oh, that's pretty good.
Ben.
So
escape this.
there are two separate.
Ben
Mark
has never
Hamill
played
aliens
either of
in
the
this
next the Old
trilogy.
Republic games, nor has he
I don't
played
know
the
what
Old
you're
Republic,
talking about,
but he's
Josh.
the-
I've played
the
both of
so-called
them.
Old
I have
Republic
played both of
expert.
them, Josh. I will
No,
have
you
you.
Yeah,
haven't.
your statement's technically incorrect, Josh.
Yeah. Oh, you're right. He's never beat like.
I have played
The
both of them several
prologues.
times.
You've never beaten the prologues.
He has never beaten it to
It's-
completion. Wait, did you
it's-
not beat the prologue for the first one? I know you said
Yep.
you didn't beat the prologue for the second. So Ben, what is your?
I beat the prologue for both.
Okay, I was about to, the way that was my concern, because I know you said like you've done the prologue for the second one multiple times. I have never finished the prologue for the second one.
Yeah, there's. I've
Um,
been. The Last Jedi has made me think a lot about KOTOR 2 lately. But I just wanted. The reason why I wanted to bring this up is because Ben constantly brings up how much he loves the Old Republic, and I'm starting to feel just slightly slighted because that's also where most of my love comes from, and he's never played like the two big things from it.
Well, I mean, to be fair, there is, and it's the thing you can say the most about Star Wars. Like, yes, as far as most well known, that is the two biggest things from the Old Republic. There was a slew of books.
The comics are
comics.
so fucking good.
Like, the comics are.
Yeah, but the comics don't matter if you didn't play those games, Josh.
Have you read the comics,
You
Ben?
fuck.
Have you read the comics, Ben?
Yes.
Okay. It's just we're going to at some point play at least KOTOR 1, if not both, for this podcast and do an episode. I imagine that episode will be long, but we gotta do it. Just to get Ben to play those. Because I'm more disappointed that I've known Ben for nearly 5 years now, and he still hasn't done it despite my constant nagging.
I'm more disappointed you have to go out in public and fucking air out my dirty laundry.
No, I see, Ben. It's fine. We called Josh out about the 501st.
That's
special
kind of
feature.
why I did it as well.
And then you. So at some
I
point,
knew
I'm
exactly
sure.
why you were doing it.
At some point, I'm sure I will have a Star Wars ambush intervention as well on the podcast.
In this case, I was just disappointed. I'm just disappointed, Ben.
You know what, Josh? I disappoint me a lot too. So that's just something you gotta live with now.
God.
Oh my god.
Snoke looks like evil intergalactic Hugh Hefner, and I'm tired of trying to keep myself from saying it.
Snoke had another apprentice.
What?
We know next to
fuck
nothing
off.
about him, but it is confirmed Snoke had one apprentice.
No,
At
fuck
least
off.
one
Really?
other apprentice. Yeah.
I mean, what happened to this other apprentice?
I don't know. I spotted that while I was looking at his Wikipedia article, and I'm trying to find it.
Please find it. But yeah, I've tried to suppress the obvious thing, which is his fucking robe looks like a Hugh Hefner robe for so long, and I just had to write it down this time in my notes.
You know what bothers me the most? I was thinking real hard today while watching this movie, because this thing we're doing where we're suggesting alternative Star Wars content for people at the end of the podcast, and this being my turn to do it in this rotation, has got me thinking about the EU. There's obviously characters that like the people who are hardcore invested in the EU miss dearly.
Yeah.
Cry themselves to sleep thinking about at night. Kyle Katarn. But I think honestly the casual Star Wars fan was robbed of the chance of having another great Wookiee character in Lobaka.
Yeah. For sure.
Because we get one Wookiee character in these movies. Okay, we get what was it? Tarful in
Goodbye, Tarful.
Yeah, but like
the Wookiee chieftain Tarful, right? We're talking about the same thing.
The one that Ben screamed at me for not remembering the name of.
Listen.
I love you.
I love that Wookiee.
Oh my god. Yeah, no, it's just there's certain there's obviously characters that are I wouldn't say way more important, but like I wish they had brought back first, obviously, but it's just like there's no fucking diversity is the wrong word, I guess. It's just like there's no fucking like the mainline movies. It's just like, well, here's another human-esque person, here's another human, here's another human, here's another human. Like
yeah, lots of humanoids.
Mandalorian does that very well, where like every episode it's like, well, here's another, here's a Quarren, and here's some Twi'leks, and it's as I've said multiple times, the mainline Star Wars movies need to stop being so fucking cowardly and cast a main character that's an alien species. Damn it.
Okay. So the source listed for this information is the Star Wars Visual Dictionary for The Force Awakens, which unfortunately I do not have on me yet. But in the article, it says during his life, Snoke trained at least one individual as an apprentice in the ways of the dark side. At another unspecified point, he endured a wound that split his head.
The way it's written, is it written as one other person other than Ben, or just one in general?
It doesn't specify, which bothers me.
Because it could just in the dumbest phrasing possible be talking about Ben.
It has the same source as where it lists one other apprentice.
Chris brought up a point that I've been thinking about all week. I've been thinking about it for a couple weeks. I've been actually thinking about it since I decided to play KOTOR again. This fucking movie messes with my head. Because every time I think about it, I think how dangerously close it gets to saying something about, like, the Jedi as a whole. And then I'll think of something like Kreia from Knights of the Old Republic 2, or I'll think of Vergere. I don't know how to pronounce that fucking name, by the way. It's the Fosh Jedi that survived the Old Republic on Xenoma's Cut that trained Jason. Those kind of characters that... There's only a few of them in the EU, but those kind of characters that like tried to apply some kind of philosophy based on the moral or practical application of what the Jedi and the Sith are to kind of point and say, the Jedi are kind of fucked up, huh? I've been thinking about them a lot lately, because when you think about those characters, no matter how flawed they are, which those two, like Kreia, when you start to look at Kreia, everybody says Kreia is very practical, and like she's fucked up. She's totally fucked up.
Once again, I must say, because it's very important, because this is like the third time throughout the lifespan of this podcast where you've done this. You need to watch Rebels and Clone Wars. Because they explore this at length.
Yeah. More so Rebels than Clone Wars, I would dare to say, but...
Well, Clone Wars, it's the important context with...
Well, I know Ahsoka Tano's entire thing is that. But I'm not talking about Great Jedi specifically. I'm not talking about this willingness to...
No, we're referring... at least where I'm seeing this is more the Bendu. I don't know if that's where you're going with this, Chris.
Yep.
Because the Bendu essentially espouses the non-existence of a light and a dark.
Yeah, I mean, Ahsoka's a different story. You know, the Grey Jedi is a whole thing.
Ahsoka just said "fuck you" to the Jedi Council, rightfully so.
But that's, I mean, yeah, there's.
But I'm also not talking about like a denial that there's a light and dark side of the Force, because like there obviously fucking is. I more mean the practical look on the thing that this movie does. There's a deleted scene in this movie that it's actually kind of bad shit, to be honest. So I'm actually glad I brought this up, because even though it was not the reason why I brought it up. So there's a deleted scene in the movie right after Rey and Luke talk about like the old Jedi Order and stuff like that. There's a raiding party that comes from another island that's coming to attack the keepers that hold the island together for the Jedi. And Luke warns Rey that even though her first instinct is to go protect them, that she should not go after them, because the Jedi would preach that if she goes down, they'll come back in greater numbers next month, and she won't be here to protect them when that happens. And she, of course, says, "Fuck you, old man," and goes. So she goes down, and it's that great trailer shot where she's racing across the like rocks on top of the water to get there. She goes through, and she knocks down the fucking door, and there's just a celebration going on inside. Like, people are just dancing. There's a little, like, celebration happening, some kind of festival or something. Chewie's in the back, and, like, they kind of all look at her confused, like, why the fuck did you knock down our door? And then one of the keepers kind of, like, encourages her to, like, move around the lightsaber a little bit in the same way that they're dancing. Scene continues. It's another one of those fucking hokey, jokey things. But right after that, she kind of storms through, which is assumed that they cut to something else and come back. She storms through and goes over to Luke, and she's like, "What the fuck?" And Luke's like, "Sorry, I actually didn't think you would run here that fast." And he's like, really jokey for a second. And he's like, "What you did is the right thing. The Jedi would have said, don't interfere in this because you'll only make it worse down the line." Well, that's kind of bullshit. What the Alliance needs is what you just did. Someone who's willing to take action, someone who's willing to do what's right, rather than sit passive and let things that can be stopped not be stopped. It's that Jedi bullshit mentality of serving a balance that it corrupts its own order. I'm talking about that kind of stuff. I'm talking about not necessarily the Force as a concept. I'm talking about the deconstruction of the Jedi and the Sith as concepts themselves. Not just the Force as a whole as a religious symbology. That kind of stuff I feel like is missing. And I'm not saying it's not in Clone Wars or Rebels. Because I haven't seen it. I'm just saying, like, those kind of things, this movie gets dangerously close to talking about, but does not go in enough depth to really make it a thing. And I miss that kind of stuff, because that's the kind of thing that an author would sit down and say, okay, I have something to make in Star Wars, no one's paying attention to me, let me do something that would probably get me in trouble if there was any kind of structure to this at all. Sorry, that was a rant. That's the kind of thing I'm talking about. I'm not necessarily talking about the Force. I'm talking
Like I
about.
said, well, I'm not talking about the Force either. I'm talking about the Jedi and the Sith specifically. I think you're going to enjoy Rebels specifically.
Yeah.
Indeed.
Well, that's why we're gonna force my
That's the
ass to
thing.
watch them by doing side content.
The stuff they do with Ahsoka and the stuff they do with Maul,
Yeah.
and even some of the stuff with Kanan and Ezra. I mean, they that's the thing I've realized at this point. Like, and again, I'm not going to talk about it here because I'm going to talk about it a little bit in my suggestion I have to do. That's the thing I've come to realize again with Star Wars is the same thing I realized when I was a kid is the side stuff is so much better.
Yeah.
To
I
me
don't
personally.
disagree with you.
I mean, maybe there's people who have never read any of the books, never played any of the games, which I think honestly is most people, like
Definitely.
mainstream, mainline people just, the movies and this is that, that's why.
Maybe like The Mandalorian too, but like.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
in the interest of fairness to those people, it's not all better. It's either better or so much fucking worse.
Yeah, in the interest of those people, you'll sleep better not trying to figure out how the fuck this all exists in one universe.
Yeah, like it's a wide swath. It's either that's better or that's so much worse.
Yeah,
I have questions about this universe that haunt me.
Well, and that's Star Wars is such a unique property in that way. I mean, we've talked about that at length before. Like it can exist entirely on its own, or then you can read and watch and play the side content and gain a better understanding of the world, or sometimes a worse understanding of the world because now you're confused and but no, I mean, like I'm enjoying season 2 of The Mandalorian, which is airing currently. Rebels I enjoyed immensely. Resistance I haven't seen, and I don't think it's for me personally, but
I'm
think...
going to keep my mouth shut about Resistance for the sake of one of our mutual friends. I'm apparently being scolded by someone we all know.
No, you're not being scolded. There's just disappointment.
Just disappointment that you don't enjoy it. But no, even Resistance, it's not my thing, but I think it adds some of the stuff I've seen from it. I think it adds some important stuff to the world. And I mean, Clone Wars is fantastic. I enjoyed what they did with that. Like it's.
I would say the creme de la creme of animated Star Wars is droids.
Yes. What? Oh my god.
Droids.
God damn it, Ben.
It's the Ewok adventures that came out in the 80s.
No, I mean, I don't know, at this point personally, and it's like I said, it's how I was when I was a kid too. I enjoy the side content, I think, more than I enjoy the mainline films.
It's funny because I've been wrestling with this thought, especially considering the context we have with how often we're frequenting these movies. Most people probably haven't seen like the original trilogy movies in a long time.
Oh yeah.
Most people probably haven't even seen the prequels in a few years.
Yeah, I think it's a very small group of fans that are like, oh, there's a new Star Wars coming out. Let me watch all of them.
Which, at one point, Josh and I were going to go to New York to marathon every Star Wars movie in a movie theater.
That fell apart, didn't it?
And that fell right the fuck apart. But, like, there's a lot of people who are consuming all of the side content, especially, like, right now with The Mandalorian. There's a lot of people watching The Mandalorian who haven't seen a Star Wars, like, film in 3 years.
Yeah.
And that's just counting the sequels. Like...
Which, honestly, I feel it's important to say, is the normal, healthy way to consume that content.
I'm just saying mental health is cowardice.
Oh, no.
Brought to you by the podcast filled with 3 depressed boys.
Oh, my God. Oh my God.
Oh no, what?
I've
What's happened?
gone down a Wikipedia rabbit hole.
No, Ben, not on the podcast.
There's a new Alderaan.
What?
It's canon and Legends. There's one sentence on it.
Is the one sentence? Yeah, this is a thing. Fucking weird, right?
New Alderaan was a safe world that the Alderanian, that's a fun word, survivor
Is it?
January Tezemi spent time on during the Galactic Civil War, tending to civilian populations.
I don't know that I would refer to a world named after a world that was fucking blown up by the Empire as a safe world.
Yeah.
It's also from the Dark Empire series in Legends, as well as Children of the Jedi.
I don't know. There's never been a lightsaber owned by a Skywalker that hasn't either killed children or attempted to kill children.
Was he a children at that point?
Was he a
This has been Star Wars Every Week Forever. Good night.
Oh, God.
No, wait, you didn't answer my question.
We can't end on was he a children. Jesus Christ.
No, I'm serious. Was he a child at that point?
Christ.
Like, was he? Did he have little like pod racer toys or something? Like,
God.
Josh, I need answers.
Was he a children? We're out. Fuck it.
No, Josh, I need answers.
Why would I know this? You're the one with Wikipedia open.
You're the one telling me he was a child.
I mean, going by the comics, I think he was like 15. Oh, Jesus, Cat. What the fuck did you come from?
This is it. This has been Star Wars Every Week Forever.
No, wait. We're not going till I have answers.
You just got your answer, especially since in The Force Awakens, Han and Leia
I got
basically...
a maybe.
No, he said 15 based on the comics, and I'm saying Han and Leia talk about letting quotation.
Allegedly.
Han and Leia talk about letting their son go stay with Luke, which applies
Jedi
that they
training.
still had ownership. Yes.
Showing doubts and darkness. Exploration and discovery.
Are you really doing this right now?
Yes. You can
Why
cut
do you
most
have
of
to
this
cover-
out, but my answer must be in the podcast.
I might end up cutting this out because this is not entertaining.
Oh my god, there's so much here. So it's just, when does Luke fuck up? Fall to the dark side.
When does Luke follow his father's footsteps and try to kill a child with a lightsaber?
Oh god, Wikipedia is really gonna make me do some fucking math here. I'm mad. I don't have answers.
Well, based on context clues from the movies, he was
This is going on the list of things that keep me up at night from Star Wars.
Like I said, I assume from the comics.
Top of the list was Ben a children.
Should I just lead into the podcast with that comment?
Right next to if all of the Star Wars technology is based on Rakatan technology and all the Rakatans use the dark side to use their technology, how the fuck does technology work? I'm in too deep, lads. I'm in too deep. Who the fuck is setting off fireworks?
Apparently, the children are setting off the fireworks.
No, but he wasn't a children.
He was a children. God, now you got me saying it. What are you doing to me?
Jesus fucking Christ. Hello. It's Chris again this week. Sorry. So, this was my suggestion that I had planned originally for Force Awakens, and then I decided to shitpost for my first suggestion. So this week, I would like to suggest for those who have not to read the Young Jedi Knights book series. It is 14 books, I believe, if I remember correctly. But like, I know we've talked about on the podcast, and you hear people talk about like, well, I grew up in such and such era, so this is my Star Wars. These books, this is my Star Wars. Like, I grew up reading a lot, and I grew up watching the Star Wars movies with my dad. These books came out in '95, so they came out the year after I was born. But my dad introduced me to them at one point, and this is what really cemented my love for Star Wars. This series. Obviously the characters of Jacen and Jaina, they existed before this series, but this is where they kind of became main prevalent characters in the universe. This is where you're also introduced to Chewbacca's nephew Lobaka. You're introduced to Tenel Ka, who becomes a very important character later down the road. Yeah, I mean, this series is great. It skews, like a lot of things in Star Wars, it skews a little bit more towards children, I think. But even the first book deals with them finding a fucking TIE fighter pilot crashed in the jungle who doesn't know the war is over, and he kidnaps the children. And it's a little bit darker, but so yeah, this series is fantastic. This is what shaped my love for Star Wars, and if you haven't already, I would give these 14 books a read, and it leads nicely into the VIII saga as well, which is also fantastic. So that's it. Bye.
Hey, quick question. Why did you apologize?
Because it's me. Oh, I was supposed to mention on there, this is also where I get my pronunciation from, because I had an audiobook on cassette that I used to listen to on my Walkman where they said Jacen.
Oh, so I've been the one wrong all these years. I also referred to Tenel Ka as Tenel Kai.
Yeah, well, again,
Kennel.
This is just, again, I've also listened to audiobooks where they pronounced it Jason. And also they pronounced
Jason's bad. Jason's a bad pronunciation. We can all agree on that.
Technically correct. I think it's dumb, but it's technically correct, I guess. But yeah, no, this is where I technically get my pronunciation, because I had an audiobook on cassette that I used to listen to on my Walkman.
He was not a children. He was 23 or 4.
I feel like at the very end of the podcast, there should be a thing for only our most dedicated listeners where, the podcast ends, I do my bit.
There's going to be a post-credit scene of me yelling, he was not a children.
There's like 7 seconds of silence, and then, he was not a children, and then the episode ends.